Hello, welcome back to the Lex Budget. I'm really excited about today's episode because we're going to kick off a new series called Budget or Ball. And what we're going to be looking at today are two different Bourgogne Chardonnays, one which was $11 and the other one which was $27. Now, if you've seen my channel before, you already know that this is one of my favorite wines. This is a Bourgogne Chardonnay from Domaine Famille Paquet, 2023 vintage, and it is absolutely delicious. It is pretty full-bodied for a white, in my opinion. It's dry. It's somewhere in the middle. It's slightly acidic, but nothing crazy. There are notes of apple, citrus, and maybe just like a touch of like minerality, honey, that kind of thing. But what I'm really excited about is this I found at Trader Joe's, which is a lot cheaper, but you can kind of tell that they look similar. So they're trying to achieve something similar here. If you check out these wines on Vivino, they have almost identical stats in terms of their full or light bodiedness, in terms of how dry they are, in terms of how acidic they are, and also pretty similar when it comes to the flavor profiles. The only difference being that the cheaper one says that it has like more of a buttery finish to it. So I'm expecting something slightly less minerally, and maybe like a little bit more oaky, which I don't love. So we're gonna see how they compare. I've already uncorked it, but I haven't tasted it yet. So right off the bat, I can smell a little bit of a difference for sure. I also want to point out too that just looking into these a little bit more, they are both 100% Chardonnay grapes. They are both from the Bourgogne, which is Burgundy. This is where it gets kind of confusing because there are a lot of different words to say the same thing. So this is a Bourgogne Chardonnay, which is almost redundant because in Burgundy, the only white grapes that they really use are Chardonnay grapes, in the same way that the only red grapes that they really use are Pinot Noir grapes. So there's a lot of jargon around wine, and once you dissect that, then you have a much better understanding and you realize it's not quite as complicated as you've probably been led to believe. So again, knowing that this Bourgogne Chardonnay from Domaine Famille Paquet is one of my favorites, I have high hopes for this, and I will obviously give you an honest opinion, because while this is called the Luxe Budget, there are times when it makes sense to budget, and there are times when it makes sense to spend the extra money and get something that you know you're really gonna love. So immediately looking at this, it's got a very pale yellow color. It looks pretty similar actually to what the other alternative looks like when you pour it out. I smell that buttery flavor to it. So my guess is these were aged in oak casks rather than stainless steel. And you smell the citrus there. And you also smell the apple. I smell both of those here. There's a similarity for sure to the nose of the Bourgogne Chardonnay, the Domaine Famille Paquet. That's what I'll call the expensive one. The other one is called La Burgundy, which is kind of confusing given that it's a Bourgogne. But anyway, it smells similar, but not exactly the same. It smells good though. Given that I think this is going to be kind of oaky, it smells good to me. And especially when you swirl it, it opens up a little bit, and then those heavier notes of the oak Chardonnay are not quite as strong. Okay. The more this opens up, the more excited I am about it. It smells very good. Okay, enough yapping. Let's give it a try. This is nowhere near smooth. Oh, I'm so sorry to disappoint. I was really hoping that the first one here was going to be a point to one that is a little bit more affordable. I think that would be a little bit more in line with what my hopes for this channel are. But unfortunately, this has a very quick finish, so it evaporates off your tongue very quickly. I would almost say that it like tastes hollow, and I'm not sure that that's the right way to describe that, but you get a very citrusy initial note on the top of your tongue, and then all of a sudden it just kind of disappears. It's like promising for the first moment that it's on your lips, because it's like it seems like it's going to have more complexity, a little bit more minerality to it, but I'm sorry to say that it does not stack up to the Bourgogne Chardonnay. So in this case of the people versus budgeting or balling, budgeting or balling, I have to declare balling the winner in this case. I will link both wines in the description of this video. Taste it for yourself. Ultimately, I think between these two bottles, I spent $38 before tax. So, I mean, that's not crazy expensive. If you're into wine and you want to learn more about it, I think for 2 bottles, that's really not too bad. But I'm curious if anybody does try it, if you detect the same thing I do. I think this is where wine gets a reputation for being kind of snobby. I'm not saying that I wouldn't drink this glass of wine if I got it out somewhere, or that I'd turn my nose up at it, or that it's bad. It's more that it does not taste as good as the more expensive alternative, I fear. If you get a chance to try both wines, please leave a comment and let me know your thoughts, because again, wine is subjective. What I might like or dislike in a wine, you might dislike or like in it. And I think that's the really cool thing about it, is it can open up a conversation that extends past just preferences, but also craftsmanship and agriculture and, you know, a bunch of other topics like that. There is such a rich history behind wine, and I just think it's one of those things that gives people an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into life. And if that isn't what wine and food and living well is all about, I honestly don't know what is. So if you get a chance to try it, let me know. If not, no worries. But thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Cheers.